Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I have to share with you what I've been reading for the last month. So I got through 7 books, anywhere from a 2-star review up to a 5-star review and everything in between. So let's go ahead and dive in. The first book I have here is Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. I gave this 4 stars. A lot of people really love this book and it was a good book. I read this through the paperback form that I got at Goodwill, as well as through Libby, the app through my library, on ebook and audiobook. And so let me just tell, oh, and then I watched the movie afterwards. So let me read you guys the synopsis here. It says, for years, rumors of the Marsh Girl have haunted Barkley Cove, a quiet town on the North Carolina coast. So in late 1969, when handsome Chase Andrews is found dead, the locals immediately suspect Kaya Clark, the so-called Marsh Girl. But Kaya is not what they say. Sensitive and intelligent, she has survived for years alone in the marsh that she calls home, finding friends in the gulls and the lessons in the sand. Then the time comes when she yearns to be touched and loved. When 2 young men from town become intrigued by her wild beauty, Kaya opens herself to a new life until the unthinkable happens. So, Kaya was born and raised basically on her own in the marsh. Since the time she was about 7 or so, she was on her own. Maybe she was about 10 when her last family member left. And she survived in the marsh on her own. She never went to school for more than a day in her life, but she was very intelligent in other ways, in they're learning the land and all that. And then, yeah, she has some interaction with society. Well, she does have some, she needs it to survive, but it's kind of a coming of age novel when she's a young adult. She has this interactions with these 2 young men, and it is a murder mystery as well. So something happens and we're trying to figure out what happened, who's responsible, that type of thing. And it was good. It wasn't like super fast paced, but it was really character driven. I really enjoyed the writing style. And then afterwards, I made my husband watch a movie with me, and the movie is on Netflix. And he said, "Oh, that was a really good movie at the end." So the movie did follow the book pretty closely. They had to take some things out, because you can only fit so much in a 2-hour movie. But yeah, this was a good book. I would recommend this. This is a Reese Witherspoon book club book and has been very popular in the last few years. So if you haven't read this, it is worth picking up. It's probably just considered like a general fiction novel, but like I said, there is a murder mystery element to it. So that is Where the Crawdads Sing. 4 stars. Okay, I'll just set these down here. The next book I read for my book club, and this is called People of the Book by Geraldine Brooks. Sorry. People of the Book by Geraldine Brooks. And it says this was a winner of the Pulitzer Prize, which I have learned recently doesn't necessarily mean that it's the greatest book ever. And I gave this a 3-star review. This was, it was a good book. It wasn't earth-shattering, but I did enjoy it. It's a historical fiction book. So it is, it's based on a real manuscript, and then there's fictional characters. And I like how, okay, let me just read you the synopsis here. We have a map. I love books with maps. So it says, in 1996, a rare book expert is offered a job of a lifetime: analysis and conservation of a mysterious, beautifully illuminated Hebrew manuscript created in the 15th century Spain and recently saved from destruction during the shelling of Sarajevo's libraries. When Hannah Heath an Aussie loner with a passion for her work, discovers a series of tiny artifacts in the book's ancient binding: an insect wing fragment, wine stains, salt crystals, a white hair. She begins to unlock the mysteries of the book's eventful past and to uncover the dramatic stories of those who created it and those who risked everything to protect it. In Bosnia during World War II, a Muslim risks his life to protect it from the Nazis. In the hedonic salons of Vienna, the book becomes a pawn in the struggle against the city's rising anti-Semitism. In Venice in 1609, a Catholic priest saves the book from the Inquisition's fires. In Tarragona, 1492, the scribe who wrote the text sees his family destroyed by the agonies of forced exile. And in Seville, in 1490, the reasons for the manuscript's extraordinary illuminations is finally disclosed. Hannah's investigation unexpectedly plunges her into intrigues of fine art forgers and ultranistic fanatics. Her experiences will test her belief in herself and the man she has come to love. And then the back cover is about the art of the author. But yeah, so I read this for a book club that I'm in, and I did have to return that copy, but I picked this up while I was reading it at Goodwill. And I wasn't sure if it was something I would want to add to my library or not. So I just picked it up because I'm like, it was like $2. I can unhaul it if I don't like it, but I think I'm going to keep this for my collection, probably, at least for now. This was very interesting. So it's about a book called, or a manuscript called the Haggadah. I think that's how you say it. I apologize if it's not. Which is an actual Jewish manuscript that is read and observed during Passover. And there's, lots of copies of it. But this particular copy was of interest to collectors and everything, and because of the history on it, it was very coveted. And it was really interesting because it's called Book of the People, so it's about the people that interacted with this book throughout history, going all the way back from the 1400s through present. And all of these people that chose to take risks to protect this manuscript. And it wasn't just people of the Jewish faith, but it was also Muslims and maybe some Christians, people that were not just of the Jewish faith, but recognized the importance of the literature. So I thought that was neat. It kind of makes you think, like, what would I do? How far would I go to protect a book because of its importance in history? And, book burning has happened. I mean, throughout history. And I think it kind of makes you think about, what would you do if you were in one of those situations where you had to risk possibly your life to protect a form of written word. So anyway, it was good. Like I said, it has this map where it follows the book, the manuscript, through time and throughout Europe. And I like books that, I can't think of the word, but where they follow different characters throughout time, like an extended timeline. I think that's really interesting. And it was something that I've never heard of this book. I probably wouldn't have picked it up on my own, which is pretty much most of the books I've read in this book club. I think that's a lot of the point of a book club, is to read books that you wouldn't normally read. And I did enjoy this. It says that she wrote a book here in March, which is supposed to be about the perspective of the dad from Little Women when he is fighting in the Civil War, I guess. I haven't read that one, but I think that's probably her most famous book. Anyway, this was good. I also did listen to this while I was reading it on audiobook on Libby. And Since I've gotten into audiobooks, and particularly free ones on Libby, it's really helped me to get through books and be able to get through 7 books in a month, because I can listen to them. I still love to sit down and read a book, but I can listen to them while I'm doing the dishes, or doing like some kind of data entry work at work that doesn't require a lot of thinking, or getting ready for the day. All those little places in your life where you can just listen to the audiobook. It really helps to get through books. So yeah, I think I would recommend this. It's not going to be for everyone, but it was interesting. And out of all the books I read this month, this one was probably the most thought-provoking. So I did enjoy that. And that was a 3-star book. That was People of the Book. Okay. So the next book I read was a thriller. I've been really into thrillers this year. So this is the second Riley Sager book that I've read, and I think it's his first book. It's called The Last Time I Lied. The first book I read of Riley Sager is right behind me here, The Last One Left. I really loved that book, and so when I saw this one at my secondhand bookstore, I had to go ahead and pick it up. And this is another one where I also listened to it on audiobook. So I believe this was his first book, maybe Final Girls was. But I liked it. I gave it a 4-star, I think is what I gave it on Goodreads. It wasn't earth-shattering. I liked his newest book, The Only One Left, better, but this was not bad. So I'll read you the back here. It says, 2 truths and a lie. Vivian, Natalie, Allison, and Emma played it all the time at Camp Nightingale. But the games ended the night Emma sleepily watched the others sneak out of the cabin into the darkness. The last night she or anyone saw them was Vivian closing the cabin door, hushing Emma with her finger pressed to her lips. Now a rising star in the New York art scene, Emma turns her past into paintings. Massive canvases filled with dark, gnarled branches that cover ghostly shapes in white dresses. When the paintings catch the attention of wealthy owner of Camp Nightingale, Francesca implores Emma to return to the newly reopened camp as an art instructor. Wouldn't she like to put the past to rest? Familiar faces in the same dark lake haunt Nightingale, where Emma is even assigned to the same cabin she slept in 15 years ago. But not everything is the same. The only security camera is pointed directly at Emma's door, and long-hidden cryptic clues that Vivian left behind begin to surface. Soon Emma finds herself sorting through lies from the past while facing mysterious threats in the present. And when she gets closer to the truth about Camp Nightingale, the more she realizes the closure could come at a deadly price. Okay, I need to get a drink after reading that. Yeah, so basically this lady was at a summer camp when she was, I think, 13. And she was in a cabin bunked with older girls. There was 3 older girls that disappeared. They all disappeared the same night when she was there. And so the camp got shut down, all that. Now she's an adult, late 20s. They reopen the camp and ask her to come back as an art instructor. And so she does. And she basically does it because she wants to try to figure out what happened. And so I don't want to give it away, but all these things start happening when she's there, and there are some possible paranormal elements. And so I noticed that was a common thread in The Last Time I Lied and The Only One Left, is you're trying to figure out what is the sinister force here. Is it human? Is it paranormal? Is it a combination of the two? I don't know if all of Riley Sager's books are like that. Let me know in the comments if you've read more books of his than those 2. If you've noticed that in multiple books of his. I don't know, but I did like that. I like trying to figure out what direction is this going. Is it, because it adds even an extra level of mystery, I guess. You don't know not only who did it, but what did it, I guess, possibly. And so I did enjoy that. Like I said, this was not as good as his most recent book, but I did enjoy it. It was pretty twisty. I didn't guess the ending for sure. And it was a pretty quick, easy read. Yeah, I think the chapters were fairly short, if I remember right. Oh, so it goes alternating timelines. So it'll be, some of it takes place in the present, some of it takes place 15 years ago when everything first went down. And you jump back and forth, but it's not confusing on the timeline. So yeah, I would recommend that book if you like thrillers. Okay, the next book I read / listened to also is The Circle by David Eggers. So this is, I don't know, I guess I would probably call this a sci-fi book. I think it was described as a thriller somewhere on here, but I wouldn't call it that, and it wasn't very fast-paced. So it says, when May Holland is hired to work for The Circle, the world's most powerful internet company, she feels she's been given the opportunity of a lifetime. Even as life beyond campus grows distant, even as a strange encounter with a colleague leaves her shaken, even as her role as a Circle becomes increasingly public, what begins as a captivating story of one woman's ambition and idealism soon becomes a heart-racing novel of suspense, raising questions about memory, history, privacy, democracy, and the limits of human knowledge. So I gave this a 3. This was just okay. And I watched, so I read this, I listened to it on audio, and then my husband and I watched the movie afterwards. And I will have to say, this is one of the rare cases where I actually liked the movie better than the book. So I gave this 3 stars. And this was written in, I think, 2012 or 2013. So 11 years ago. And so a lot of this stuff doesn't really seem that far-fetched anymore. To a point, I guess this is kind of like a dystopian novel, a sci-fi dystopian novel, where how far will you let technology go for convenience at the risk of losing some of your civil liberties and rights. So this gal May goes to work for this tech company that's kind of like what we would call Google today or Facebook, but it's all encompassing. And they slowly start to come up with these different programs that make life easier, more convenient for people, but there's a price on your privacy and your democracy and all that. And there's a guy in here so this gal May, she's like all for it. And she kind of becomes a spokesperson for them because she's on board with everything. And there is a guy that tries to warn her, hey, this is dangerous. And it's like she didn't really have any type of independent thought in the book. And that's what really annoyed me, is she just went along with it. And even when someone tried to warn her, she was just like, oh yeah, whatever, it's great. They did make a movie of this in 2017 with Tom Hanks and Emma. I can't believe I'm drawing a blank on her name, but the gal that played Hermione in Harry Potter, she played May. And in the movie, she actually did have some critical thinking skills, and she was able to have some discernment and go against the grain, unlike the character in the book. And so the movie was better because she had that independent thought, and that was lacking in this book, and it just kind of drug out. So yeah, 3 stars, but kind of on the lower end of 3 stars for me. There's actually a sequel of this. I don't remember what it's called, but it's where this company merges with the big environmental tech company. And I don't think I'm going to read that because this was enough of that for me. So it was okay. So Washington Post called it chilling. New York Times called it prophetic, which I guess it kind of was. And maybe, like I said, this was written in 2013. So things were a little bit different then. But yeah, it was just meh. And I like sci-fi dystopian type novels, but I also like characters to have free, I don't want to say free will, but minds of their own where they can think critically. And this book, yeah, the main character just left a lot to be desired. So 3 stars. I don't even know that I would say I recommend that. Okay. Well, let's talk about my last actual hardcover book that I have here, or paper, you know, paperback book that I have. I guess this is a hardback. This is the next book that we read for my book club, and it's called No, I Don't Want to Join a Book Club. And this was a 2-star book. This was the worst book that I read of the month, of the 7 books I read. So, I don't even know if I'm going to read you the whole synopsis, but it's basically about this British lady that turns 60, and she writes in her diary for her 60th year. And, oh, it's actually called No, I Don't Want to Join a Book Club, Diary of a 60th Year. And so she just has this attitude of like, I don't want to join a book club. I don't want to learn another language or, take up all these hobbies that people do when they get retired. I just want to, I don't want anything to do with that. And so it started out enjoyable enough. It was kind of funny. It has the British humor in it for sure. So that kind of dry, witty British humor, but it just drug on. And it's not even that long of a book. It's like 250 pages. Yeah, 230 pages. And it just got old. So at first her attitude was kind of quirky, kind of funny. And then it was just like, come on, lady. Like, I don't know. It was, yeah. So she does kind of have a pessimistic attitude on things. And she's writing in her diary. These are all diary entries. So I guess, normally in a diary, you wouldn't expect day-to-day activities to be too exciting. And they weren't. Basically, within that year, she has a close friend that passes away. She becomes a grandma. She has somewhat of a love interest, but it was just drug on. And I did not like it. I think this was written in the early 2000s, maybe 2007, 2006. People compared it to like a funny version of the Diary of, what is her name, Bridget Jones. If you guys remember that book or movie from the early 2000s. Her fictional diary reads like a grumpy old Bridget Jones. It had me laughing out loud on the bus. Yeah, so I don't know. I remember not thinking Bridget Jones was that great when the movie came out anyway, but I don't really remember the movie. Anyway, as you can tell, I wasn't very impressed with this. I don't know. People in my book club might like it more because most people in my book club are like in their 60s, but it just wasn't for me. I don't know if it is a demographic thing or just, I didn't like the writing style. Like I said, it started out kind of funny and witty, but then some of the stuff even was kind of just, I don't know. I don't want to say, well, yeah, it was vulgar, which doesn't really bother me, but it was just off-putting the way that she would talk about certain things in her past or even in her present. Just very kind of cringy, actually. And I just, yeah, no. So, no, I would not join a book club, and no, I would not read this book again or recommend it. Okay. So the last 2 books I have to talk about are both 5-star books. So Finished Out Strong. These were really great, and I actually don't have hard copies of them. For Mother's Day, my husband got me a tablet, and I really debated if I wanted to get a Kindle or a Fire. And, the Kindle is specific to e-reading, and it's supposed to be better on your eyes and everything. And waterproof. But in the end, I ended up going with an Amazon Fire. And so far, I've been happy with it. I've been really happy with it. And so this was great to take on a trip. We went on a trip to Denver, Colorado. And so I had some books on here, both audio and ebook form. So the first book that I read and listened to on our trip is No Exit by Taylor Adams. And this was so good. So good. I gave this 5 stars. So I'm not going to read you the synopsis. In fact, I don't know where that just went on my screen, but oh, right here. It was, oh, okay, I guess I can read it to you here. It says, a kidnapped little girl locked in a stranger's van, no help for miles. What would you do? On her way to Utah to see her dying mother, college student Darby Thorne gets caught in a fierce blizzard in the mountains of Colorado. With the roads impassable, she's forced to wait out the storm at a remote highway rest stop. Inside are some vending machines, a coffee maker, and 4 complete strangers. Desperate to find a signal to call home, she goes back out in the storm and makes a horrifying discovery. In the back of a van parked next to her car, a little girl is locked in an animal crate. Who is the child? Why has she been taken, and how can Darby save her? There is no cell phone reception, no telephone, no way out. One of her fellow travelers is a kidnapper, but which one? Trapped in an increasingly dangerous situation, with a child's life and her own on the line, Darby must find a way to break the girl out of the van and escape, but who can she trust? With an exquisitely controlled pacing, I will agree with that, Taylor Adams diabolically ratchets up the tension with every page. Full of terrifying twists and hairpin turns, No Exit will have you at the edge of your seat and leave you breathless. This was so good, you guys. Okay, so I picked this because I was like, oh, creepiness at a rest stop, and I'm going to be traveling and at rest stops. That sounds good. And I didn't know that it took place in Colorado, but it just so happens that's where we were traveling to. And so that made it even more fun. And the rest stop is a fictional rest stop in Colorado, because I looked into it, because I was like, when I was reading this while we were in Colorado, I was like telling my husband, we need to go visit this rest stop. I wanted to go visit it in person because it was so much fun to read this book. So yeah, basically this lady finds this, she's at this rest stop in a blizzard, no cell service, finds this little girl in the back of a van, and she doesn't know who to trust in the rest stop because there's 4 other strangers trapped in there. And it's very intense, a lot of different twists and plot twists, I should say, and turns. And when you think things are settling down, they don't. So it was such a good book. I only have it on here, but if I ever saw a copy of it secondhand, I would pick it up and add it to my library because it was so good. And I'm trying to see if it says, oh, it's 371 pages. So the author, Taylor Adams, he, in this book, it primarily took place in a Colorado rest stop, but there is reference to Rathdrum, Idaho, and Vernal, Utah, which are all places that I've been. And so that, made it a little bit more fun for me. And this book was so good. Afterwards, there was a sneak peek at another book of his at the end of the Kindle version. And what was it called? Gosh, I should know this. Something Bridge. That starts with an H. And that actually takes place in a fictional location that is about 60 miles from Missoula, Montana, which is the location that I live in. And so when I read that, I was like, I have to buy that book. And it started out really good just in the, first couple chapters that you get to sample. And so I actually, while I was on my trip, went on Amazon and ordered the hard copy of that book used secondhand. And it did get here a couple days ago. So I do plan on reading that sometime in the near future. It started out really strong. I really liked this author's writing style, Taylor Adams. He is from the Pacific Northwest. Well, more inland, I think Eastern Washington, which is kind of closer to where I am. And yeah, so far No Exit was absolutely 5-star, and this other one started out pretty strong too. Jeez, what was that called? It was something Bridge. But I haven't really heard anyone talk about that, but I think No Exit is pretty popular among thriller book groups. So highly recommend No Exit, and watch for my review on his other book. Well, he has a few other books, but that one in particular I do plan on reading soon. Okay, so the next one that I read on here was also a 5-star book. And again, I read the audio and I listened to it through Audible. I don't know if it was Audible. Yeah. And this is also, this is a Kindle Unlimited book. So I think No Exit was too. I'm trying to make it big. Every time I make it big, it goes into the first chapter. Ask for Andrea. It was really good. That was a 5-star book for me too. And that is by Noelle. Oh, why does it keep going off of that? Her first name's Noelle. I'm sorry. Ely, Iaheli. I keep losing it off my screen, but Ask for Andrea was really, really good. I have it in my downloads, so it was different. Okay, it's a thriller book, and like I said, 5 stars, but it's told from the perspective of 3 different female ghosts. So this guy killed 3 women, and it's told from the perspective of the ghosts of these women that he killed. And they follow along in the story. You know, they were murdered at different points in his life. And so you see what he's doing and his wickedness, and from their perspective, how they're viewing it. And it was just really, really good. So the first gal that he killed was also in Colorado, and then the second one was in Utah, and then the third one was in Idaho. And he basically meets these, well, not all of them, but most of them he would meet online through a dating app, and then you know, he had more sinister things in mind, or that ended up happening with them. And so I just really loved the that style of writing, of the perspective of the women, and they're strong female characters, which I really appreciated that. The reason it's called Ask for Andrea is because none of the ghosts are named Andrea, but there's like a flyer in a bar, at least one bar, in the bathroom, women's bathroom, that says, if you're in danger or you don't feel comfortable with your date, ask the bartender for Andrea. And that's like a code where they'll call you a taxi and get you out of there safely. And so that's where that name came from. Like I said, none of the ghosts are named Andrea, but yeah, this was such a good book. I probably would read more of her stuff. I am pretty sure I would. There was a sample of another book of hers at the end, and it was a little, I wasn't crazy about the beginning of it, how it started out. I'm trying to think of what that one's called. It's something about, Run on Red. And Noelle W. Ely, Ihli. I wasn't super crazy about that. It just seemed kind of, I don't know. but I probably would give it a try. So with this tablet, I have 3 months of Kindle Unlimited, and I think you can have like 20 books in your library at a time. And so I did put that and some other ones in there that I plan on reading and getting through. So yeah, those were the books that I got through this month. We had 2 5-stars, 3-star, 4-star, another 3-star, and a 2-star. And my favorite, I don't know, it's between Ask for Andrea and No Exit. Probably No Exit. Just because, I don't know, they're both really close, but I think it added to the enjoyment that I was in Colorado at the time I was reading it, and, you know, visiting rest stops on our trip. And so that was probably my favorite, but Ask for Andrea was a close second. So yeah, I am back on the thriller train. That book club book, the No, I Don't Want to Join a Book Club, was the last book club book that we are meeting for. We are going to break for the summer and then pick it up again in the fall. And I will keep going. This is the first time I have joined a book club, and I've really enjoyed it. Not all of the books have been the greatest, but it's been beneficial, I think. And I've enjoyed it. And so I am going to join it again. But in the meantime, I plan on we'll see. I'm a mood reader, so if I'm in the mood to read something other than thriller, I will, but I've really kind of been on a thriller kick this year. Right now I'm reading Rock, Paper, Scissors. Yeah, Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. And so far that's really good, but I will talk about that more in my next video. And I have a lot of TBRs, but Death of Miss Westaway is going to be available to me soon through Libby, and I also have the paperback, so I'm probably going to read that one next, and I will let you guys know. I actually am going to be switching positions at work, where I'm not working crazy excessive hours all the time. That's why I'm switching, and I'm hoping that it allows for me to have more time away from the computer where I can get back to reading a little bit more. So I've really found my passion for reading again. I felt like I lost it there for a while, but I really enjoy it, and I don't want to lose that again. So let me know what you guys are reading. If you have read any of these books I talked about, what are your thoughts on them? Do you have any good recommendations for other books? It doesn't have to be thriller or really any certain category. Oh, another book so when I was in Colorado, I went to, in Denver, there is a fairly famous bookstore there. And it's called Tattered Cover Bookstore. And they have several locations, but their main one is in Denver, and that's when I went to. And I picked up like 4 books there, 2 used and 2 new. And one of the books I picked up new that I do want to read that's not a thriller is Remarkably Bright Creatures. So I do have I'm on the wait list to check this out in audio form through Libby, and I'll probably wait to do that until I read the book, but I'm really excited to read this, and I've heard really good things about it. Let me know if you guys have read this without spoilers, what your thoughts are on it. Pretty excited about that. And yeah, just really just enjoying the reading journey. So again, thank you for joining me. If you like this type of content, please consider subscribing. I do mostly do Scentsy videos on this channel, but I have been doing book reviews about once a month. So if you like that, I would love if you tuned in the future. Give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing. Thank you so much, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye, guys.